Okay, so now we're going to do a preview of the 2026 Tennessee Volunteers. There's some intriguing things. I feel like Tennessee is not a playoff contender, so they're not in the same vein as Alabama and Georgia, but they have enough pieces to be a spoiler for a lot of people, especially with the schedule lined up. And they're bringing in quite a bit. So, just on offense, a great example. We got a five-star offensive lineman, two five-star receivers, and a potential. A lot of people think that Faison Brandon will be the starter, a five-star quarterback. It would be him or McIntyre, but everything coming out of Tennessee camp right now, as it's Faison Brandon, we'll be starting him as a true freshman. So interesting, we'll have a true freshman dual threat quarterback. I think they're going to lean a lot on Deshaun Bishop, and Deshaun Bishop is going to be, I think, going to have maybe a Dylan Sampson kind of breakout year. He has all the writing on the wall. The offensive line is supposedly the best offensive line Tennessee's had, probably since the Fulmer era, the best one under Heupel. Defense has a lot of question marks from last year, but totally different. New coordinator, a lot of new transfer players in, some talented returning starters. There's some optimism the defense could be a lot better. Probably, I think, from what I'm hearing in Knoxville, the greatest changeup, though, has been bringing in the strength and conditioning coach from Indiana, who has been able to beef up the team more than it has been in past years. Also, there's more people running 440s than ever. Sprinting-wise, we have one of the fastest teams we've ever put on the field. So a lot of the strength and conditioning has been a focus. And I feel like it was something I commented last year in I think it was one of my solo videos I did on here, is I felt like Tennessee was a very soft team, soft physically, and did not hit people very hard. I think that this move of bringing this Indiana coach, it's hard to say 1 year is going to be that much of a difference, but I'm hearing it's made a big difference and maybe can create more physicality with Tennessee. Their schedule it's an interesting schedule. There's a lot of teams they can beat and a lot of teams they can lose to. It's a lot of teams even a lot of 50-50 games here, depending on if the stars align or not. Of course, right off the bat at Georgia Tech is not a game to be taken lightly, and that will probably define the early part of their season. Tennessee could very much lose that game. That's going to be a tough early matchup. I have been studying up a little bit on Georgia Tech. They lost a lot from last year. That's why if they had a lot of their returning starters, I'd almost say Georgia Tech would be the favorite. Tennessee, of course, they're appealing it right now, but it came up this past week about Arian Carter and the so-called flight that he repaid, but the NCAA suspended him.
I heard about that.
Dumbest thing I ever heard of in my life. So he was going to go to the NFL, decided to drop out of the medical emergency, fired his NFL agent, repaid him for the flight ticket. The NCAA still docked him 2 games, which would be Georgia Tech would be one of those 2 games. So they might be missing Arian Carter going into that game, but there are some really good pieces. Some players they brought in from Penn State. I just think that Jim Knowles' defense, I'm going to say they're going to be like a B defense, a B plus. They're going to give up points. They won't be like a Georgia. I think Alabama and Georgia both have better defenses than Tennessee, but I think they'll be a lot better than they were last year. So I got them beating Georgia Tech, but that's a game they could very much lose. I just think the talent alone might get them by. I think Deshaun Bishop, once again, I think he's going to be a difference, but we'll see. They'll beat Kennesaw State. This is where things get interesting. Texas, for all intents and purposes, should beat Tennessee. I think everybody has them beating Tennessee. If they Tennessee loses Georgia Tech, they lose this game easily, and it'll be a blowout. If they beat Georgia Tech and they come in 3-0, I think this could be a tricky game for Texas, kind of like Florida was for them last year. If Texas can't figure out how to run the ball, they'll win this game easily. I think they'll win it easily. I think Texas has better defense, better quarterback, all that play. If Tennessee can run the ball on Texas better than Texas can run on them, and they can get some rushing game going. Generally in the SEC, the team with the most rushing yards wins the game, especially in a tight game. This game could get interesting. I think this is a game Tennessee could actually upset Texas, and I had that, as weird as I have that in there. I think Tennessee can upset Texas, but unless Texas can figure out how to run the ball, I'm not that high on Texas because of that. Auburn, I think this game's going to be tricky. I think Auburn, I only picked Tennessee because Heupel and Alex Golesh is like the typically the master beats the apprentice, but Gullis comes out of the Heupel system. I think this game's going to come down to the wire. I think Auburn will come into Knoxville, give Tennessee a fit. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game on both sides. I think at some point in the 30s, I think Tennessee barely wins that one. Arkansas, another game Tennessee could lose. I don't like. I think this is another one that's going to be ugly. I think they pull it out, but it looks a lot like the Mississippi State game last year where they just barely pull it out. Alabama, sorry, I kind of talked about this one. I don't like that Alabama has to play Georgia right before Tennessee. That makes it a little tricky for Alabama in this coming into this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is one of those ones that it can go either way. Like with Texas, I kind of flipped Tennessee in an upset on this one. I think it could go either way. South Carolina, I got South Carolina winning this one. I think Tennessee will go in there and probably lose. I think that the only reason I think we could beat South Carolina is maybe we get angry because the last time we went there was in 2022 and there's some kind of like vengeance mode. But I just think Tennessee's not an experienced enough team to go into Columbus and win, Columbia and win against South Carolina. I think that they'll win that game, or South Carolina will win that. They'll lose that game. Kentucky could be tricky, but Kentucky, I don't think Kentucky's going to be that good this year. I think Tennessee, for some reason, seems to have the voodoo over them. So I got Tennessee winning that one. A&M, no, Tennessee's not winning there. A&M's going to beat them pretty soundly. I don't think that one's going to be. Well, it might be close just because A&M don't have a great offense, but I think the A&M's defense will crush. I don't think Tennessee will be able to score much on them. LSU, I got this one going against Tennessee as well. I got Kiffin finding a way to win in Knoxville in a game that's probably going to go down to the wire. You got the three home games, Texas, Alabama, and LSU. They're all games that, in theory, Tennessee should lose. I got them win 2-3, 1-3. I think they'll beat at least one of those three. That's going to be a key part of their season. I don't think they win all the road games, though. Well, of course, they'll lose A&M, but I think they'll drop at least two of the road games. And South Carolina A&M seem to be the most likely of that group. But I think that I have LSU finding a way to win in Knoxville. I think it's going to be an intense back-and-forth game. I think Tennessee's season's going to be full of those.
Hopefully there's no mustard being thrown.
Yeah, mustard, golf balls. Well, Kiffin has it bad twice. He's Ole Miss too. That's going to be even worse. That's going to be pay for pay TV. I mean, that's going to be an amazing game. Mm-hmm. Ole Miss LSU. Vanderbilt. I think Tennessee gets them this year. Vanderbilt. I respect what Clark Lee's doing there. I think they're going to have a down year this year. But I have them at 5-7 after looking at their schedule. But if they still had the four non-conference games, I think Vanderbilt could go bowling. But I just don't. I think Tennessee will get Vanderbilt this year. I think Tennessee's building for something really good in 27. They got of course, you got the commitment the other day from that 5-star running back. They got another running back that committed. They're trying to flip a 5-star edge player. They got some pretty good talent coming in next year. And if Faison Brandon can live up to hype, and you got Tristan Keys, that really is really hyped up receiver. There's some players on this team that, in theory, could make this team dangerous next year. But I don't think they're too young this year. We might see them playing good at the end of the season, and I don't know. It's I think they'll scare some people. I think they could scare a team like an Alabama or Texas or LSU. I think they could scare some of these one of the big threes at home. I don't, but they can also. This is a team that very much goes 6-6 with the schedule too. So it's I think it's a really young team. We'll see, but I think they could scare some people. I think there's been a lot of changes, possibly that sound like they're maybe a little under the radar. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they make the playoff or anything big like that. But I think that they could be keep others, i.e., Texas, out of the playoff. I'll get to that when I get to Texas.
Yeah, I can see them being in most of the games this year, only because of their revamped defense. Because, like I said, I've been hearing a lot of good things about what their new DC has been doing this offseason.
Yeah, Jim Knowles.
Right, Jim Knowles. So we'll see about this season. I mean, you look at it, dude. after Kennesaw State, it's SEC straight up. Well, the whole SEC is a 9-game schedule this year. That in itself is going to be daunting.
Yeah.
Not just for Tennessee, not just Georgia, Bama, but for everybody else. So it's going to be another, beat up league this year, I think, especially with a 9-game season. But I mean, I do see some promise in Tennessee this year. Me saying that as a Bama fan, but yeah, I mean, 8-4, doable. It's doable. It is doable.
Yeah. They could be anywhere from 6-6 to 9-3. I don't see them making the playoff unless just the stars just align perfectly. Not with a true freshman quarterback, and they may draw. I probably got them ambitious on beating Texas. That's probably a game they are going to drop, but I just don't like Texas not having a running game, and their offense sputtered a lot last year.
Well, Texas did get that number one running back from the portal this year. He's supposedly really good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he came from Louisville.
No. Did they have the lot of his offensive line? Yeah, that might be. I'll maybe rethink Texas. Texas has to, because they have Ohio State right before Tennessee, and that kind of hurts them too. So Texas's season may come down to Ohio State and Tennessee because they get past both of them. I think they could do really well. I think they have Ole Miss, LSU, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M off memory. So they do Texas have a tough schedule.
I think overall, I think Tennessee has the highest ceiling and floor. It varies the most. This team could go 500 and they could be just out of the playoffs. I mean, and it's really, you kind of said this already. There's gonna be a lot of one-score games. I can already tell as final scores. Georgia Tech, that's a one-score game. Texas, probably a one-score game. Alabama, definitely a one-score game. A&M, that's probably too
I
short.
think we won't say it.
Probably not.
That's your give me a loss. I think Tennessee's not going to get mauled, but it's not going to be close. LSU, that's a one-score game. Vanderbilt, two-score game, maybe one-score game if you're having a bad day. There's going to be a lot of one-score games, so I can see six. I can see 6 losses. I could see, 2, maybe, 3. It depends. It's honestly just going to come down to, how lucky do you guys get with one-score games? I think this team is talented. I can see them being really good in 1 to 2 years, especially with the amount of freshmen they're starting. For Tennessee, at least over the past 3-4 years, it's kind of almost odd. I know they're starting a left tackle as a true freshman. I think he's a left tackle. He could be a right tackle.
Here's David Sanders. Yeah, David Sanders Jr. Yeah.
They could be starting their quarterback, who's a true freshman. Tristan Keys, true freshman. I think they had another 5-star wide receiver,
Mike Matthews.
Yeah, I guess he's a sophomore.
He'd be a junior.
Dang.
Or maybe he's a sophomore. Yeah, he was here.
But, overall, it's a pretty young core for. Heupel, who's been here for a few years now. He's had some pretty good teams. The Hooker era, some Joe Milton teams were experienced. It's definitely a new site. So I think it'll be interesting to watch because they're kind of revamping a good amount of their team. Their offense looks pretty different. Their defense looks A to Z. They does not look.
Yeah.
They're bringing back 3 players. It does not look similar. So I think it'll be really interesting to watch.
In reality, Alabama's kind of in a similar spot. We didn't hit on this in the Alabama review, but they got a lot of players too, but like Tennessee. And it's almost like a question mark with both programs. Collin sums it up well. It's in theory, if all the stars align, both of them could be really good. If they don't align, both of them could get in some trouble. I think with Tennessee's schedule, we'd be in more trouble than Alabama would be if Alabama didn't line up. I think Alabama has some a little bit more manageable schedule than we do. So even like Alabama's floor, it's still probably 8-4, 7-5. I think Tennessee's floor, like you said, Colin, 6-6. And it may be because that Georgia Tech game kind of adds one in there that's kind of tricky. But yeah, I don't know. It's very hard for me as a Tennessee. I don't think I think everybody's looking towards 27. We got some key starters on defense back that were actually good players. The defense I felt like wasn't very well coached. So we'll see how much Knowles comes about. But if Tennessee has a really good year, I'm going to point a lot to that strength and conditioning coach in the new program because they're saying that's been the biggest change in Knoxville over the offseason. It's something that, and they said it's nothing that's been seen in the hype era. And they were showing all the data how much these players have beefed up. Even Faison Brandon's up 20 pounds since he arrived in Knoxville already. Mm-hmm. And so they're beefing these players up, and their 440s or more of them. Their sprinting has improved drastically, the speed of the team. So I don't know. I think the conditioning program, maybe we'll get some of that luck that Indiana had last year out of that. I don't know how we got that guy. I'm surprised he didn't stay in Indiana. I don't know how we got him, but he came. So I think some of it too is Tennessee's really opening the pocketbook. You've seen it in basketball too. They're buying some of I think the number one, the highest paid college basketball players in Knoxville right now, and they said he's getting more paid more right now than LeBron James. So they're really opening the pocketbook, kind of like Ohio State did a few years ago. So we'll see. We'll see if it's leaning towards next year, but we'll see if that pays off.
Also, I forgot to mention that Georgia Tech game will, like, it kind of sounds odd, but I think it will, like, honestly determine your season. Like,
I agree 100%.
if you lose that game 2 weeks later, you're going to Texas, you're already like, you're 2-1. You're probably going to lose that. Then you're 500 going to Auburn. You could really lose that game. And then you're going to Alabama 2 weeks later. That's probably a loss because it's a big, like the more I've watched college football, honestly, one of the most important things is momentum.
Yeah.
Especially in, like when you're playing, one certain team. But I mean, even like throughout your whole season, I feel like we kind of saw that with Indiana. Like after that Alabama game in the playoffs, they looked unstoppable in the playoffs. It's kind of the same thing. Like once you get your gears going, like you obviously look better than you should. So if they lose that Georgia Tech game, they're probably going like 7-5 at the best.
And honestly, I could say that Georgia Tech, the second game of the season, is probably the truest test out of the first 4 games, rather than Bama's first 4 or Georgia's first 4. You don't have a true test, unlike we do. So yeah, that's gonna determine your season right there.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I said if we lost to Georgia Tech, which we could very well do that, we're not beating Texas. I don't think we're beating Texas if we lose to Georgia Tech. Unless Texas just really just lays a massive egg or something. They'd have to really... they did last year against Florida. I'll say that. But I just don't... I think you're exactly right. We lose to Georgia Tech, I think we're 6-6, 7-5 at the best. I think if we beat Georgia Tech, we got a shot against Texas, and if we beat Texas, we're kind of like last year. We had that shot against Georgia, and we choked. If we don't choke like we did against Georgia, who knows? Our season might have been totally different. And I do feel like the game that gave me the most bad taste in my mouth last year, Tennessee, that was Oklahoma. It wasn't Vanderbilt actually. It was Oklahoma because you watch that game. We were a better team. We let them come into Knoxville and win, and mostly because of stupid mistakes. And Alabama did the same thing, Sawyer. They gave Oklahoma so many stupid mistakes that gave them. We were driving to go up 2 or 3 touchdowns, and they threw that. It was a fumble. It was a fumble because of a bad block. And the guy picked it up and ran. He wasn't that fast. Ran 70 yards and scored for Oklahoma. That kind of turned the game around, but. Yeah, we let.
Well, I mean, we were still trying to find an identity on our running game.
Yeah,
last year, and Ty Simpson throwing the ball 20 dang times, it doesn't help because he's bound to have a mistake, or two, throw 2 interceptions, what have you.
Yeah. Well, it'll be an interesting season for Tennessee. Like I said, I doubt they make a playoff or anything like that. I'd be pleasantly surprised if that happened. But yeah, it's a interesting schedule, as Collin said. I kind of agree exactly your take, Collin. There's so many games in here that could go either one score or go either way, and it's both the tougher teams on the schedule. You feel like Tennessee's not bad enough that they can't beat them, but there's also some teams that are probably going to have worse records than Tennessee, like a Georgia Tech or South Carolina, but you're not confident Tennessee would beat them either. So it's kind of like, it's a little bit of, how's it gonna go? I think the most confident games I have, besides those two non-conference cupcakes, are probably Auburn, Kentucky, and maybe Vanderbilt. I just don't see them letting Vanderbilt beat them again this year like I did last year. I think those would be the three most confident. Maybe Arkansas is supposed to be pretty bad, but we've struggled at Arkansas. They were pretty bad 2 years ago, and we lost there. So I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of how it shapes up. It'd be, I just feel like there's not a game that we can't win, but there's not a lot of games we're guaranteed to win as well. So we'll see how it goes.